Welcome back, Deadites and Ghost Speeders, to another edition of The Good, The Bad, and The You Got Real Ugly. But this time it's movie edition, and we're covering the 2022 remake of Firestarter that we just watched last night on Peacock. You don't even have to go to the theater. It's available streaming on Premium and Premium Plus. So basically the paid editions, it is hidden behind the paywall. So if you just have the free edition of Peacock, you can't watch it there. Or of course, go to your local theater if you want to watch the movie. If you like this horror content though, please drop a like and a comment below. It really does help the video. And of course, I answer all my comments. And of course, smash the subscribe button, turn on the notification bell for all horror content. And if you're looking for a place just to talk about horror movies, horror comics, or anything horror video game related, just hop into our Discord. The link is in the description below. So today I'm going to talk about the good, the bad, and the You Got Real Ugly of Firestarter 22, the remake starring Zac Efron. And now I won't go into any spoilers, but this is a remake based on a book and also a movie, so there will be some stuff I assume is pretty common knowledge. King's novel came out in 1980, the Drew Barrymore version was in 1984, so let's believe it or not, Firestarter has been around for over 40 years. It's as old as I am. Firestarter obviously is about the family on the run from the shop, as it's called in the original movie and the book. It gets changed to DSI, which is kind of weird for this movie. But it's about a family with psychic abilities that were given to them by DSI at Lot 6. And then those two people actually have a child who is so much more than both her parents are. She is so much more powerful. Charlie's psychic ability specializes in pyrokinesis, and as she gets angrier, she's able to cause more fire to burn pretty much literally everything. Her parents, herself, her jacket, her school, the buildings, you name it, she can probably burn it. So let's start with the You Got Real Ugly portion. Honestly, I don't know what was worse, the pacing of the film or Efron's soulless performance as Charlie's dad, Andy McGee. So I'll start with the pacing, and for some reason the remake felt like it should spend more time focusing on the mother, father, daughter component was ever done in the original movie or book. And it felt very forced to me. Maybe that was due to my knowledge of the franchise, but in a 90-minute movie that took away from more important parts of the story to focus on something that was, well, turned out to be relatively meaningless, just didn't make any sense to me. Now, Andy is every bit as important as Charlie is to the story, and Efron just seems to have zero emotion throughout the entire movie, aside from one flashback scene where he does show some human emotion. He just seems very robotic and stiff throughout, and it's a performance that screams, I read this script, but for some reason the paycheck outweighed me doing something of quality. And now the bad. The changes to longtime bad guy Rainbird were just completely dumbfounding to me. The assassin is one of the major antagonists of the entire movie, but due to the changes in the timing from the 80 and 84 versions, the McGees are basically on the run for like 2 days, and it completely shrinks down the middle portion of the story, which in grand scheme is kind of the biggest part of the film and a huge portion of Rainbird's story. And it basically leads the assassin's obsession with Charlie gets completely kind of really watered down to him like meeting her for a second over one scene and suddenly just becoming obsessed with her. It makes no sense whatsoever. Instead of having month-long hunt from Rainbird as the McGees go from place to place, hiding in different places in New York and on the run and eventually getting caught up to by Rainbird and the shop, instead, it's just kind of like this very quick, makes no sense. They added powers to Rainbird, which really isn't necessary because he's kind of super creepy and obsessive and scary in his own right. And then, of course, they went ahead and drastically changed Rainbird's ending from the book in the 84 version. And it just comes off as ew, really, really ew. And instead of letting Charlie have her revenge moment, they kind of just muddy everything, and it's really bizarre. And that part really was terrible for me and could have almost gone into the You Got Real Ugly, but I kept it at the ugly part because the other parts were just so bad. And now the good, I guess? The good basically boiled down to two things, and they're both stellar performances from by young actress Ryan Kiera Armstrong as our main protagonist Charlie, and screen and TV veteran Gloria Rubin as the demented Captain Hollister. Gloria was great as the bad guy you love to hate, blinded by her own greed and desire to control the powers that Charlie have and her grand scheme of the greater good, as most villains usually end up having. And let's be honest, Armstrong brought a great emotionality, just like her predecessor, Drew Barrymore, did to the emotional and literal powder keg that is Charlie McGee. And both performances really did well, even though you only see them together in one scene, as they're playing off each other in the grand scheme of things. And both give very strong performances in a very dull film. Overall, the movie had way more problems than positives, and I literally fell asleep trying to watch it twice. And I typically don't fall asleep in movies. The first third was stretched out for absolutely no reason, could have been condensed down to like 10 minutes, and then gave much more time to the more important middle, which was then condensed down to 20 minutes. It's really, really terrible pacing, and it diminished the best part of the story. And then the climax was so watered down from both King's book or the 1984 version, probably to capture that PG-13 rating, that you really feel like it's very anticlimactic when you're like, yes, finally Charlie's going to let go and be the Firestarter we know and love. And she kind of just meh. Like, they do keep that scene with her father, but then after that, it's just very watered down. They changed the ending with Rainbird, and it's just really bizarre how they handle it. And when it comes down to it, on a scale of 5 ashes, I'm giving it 2 ashes. Like, I can't give it any more. It's not a 1 ash movie, but it's not great. If you have Peacock and you want to spend 94 minutes watching it, give it a whirl. Would I spend money to actually go and see it in the theater? Absolutely not. It's going to show up on some other streaming site if you don't have Peacock in the near future. And overall, it's a really poor adaptation of a great book and a pretty strong adaptation from the 1984 film. Now, here's the thing. If you have Peacock, the 1984 version's on there. Just watch that if you haven't seen it, or you just want to watch it again, because it's a much better movie. There you have it. Thanks as always for watching, and later, mates.